They wanted to know what we was gonna talk about. I said, we finna talk all things black in America. Some people just don't have to, they don't have that motivation, that inner motivation, and they oftentimes look for someone to blame it on. So when I look at black plight or black life in America, it seems as one, there's a lack of leadership. But I like what you said earlier. You didn't need Jesse Jackson to direct you and tell you what you should be doing because you had family. But since so many of us don't have that strong family, what is it that's missing from the village, from the community, that is preventing us from taking more ownership? Because it seems like when I look at even when I look at some of the movements that's taking place now, it's really more of a blame game than it is of a what are we gonna do about it? And what do we need?
Well, I'm the first to say that we are an oppressed people. I'm the first person to say that.
Oh, he moved the microphone when he said, y'all saw that? He moved the microphone when he said that.
I could tell you that even from my experiences at the University of South Florida. We are an oppressed people.
What do you mean from your experiences?
I mean in terms of
You're
how...
retired now, so you can tell us the truth.
I mean in terms of how faculty members are treated of color.
Okay.
How staff are treated and underpaid. And just the way things are done generally, and that's not only at USF, it's pervasive in other universities across the country. So if you don't have some sense of knowing who you are, you could fall anything, you really can. So you have to come to these jobs with some kind of self-esteem and some good feeling about yourself, so you will not be just thrown by the wayside because of the way people treat you. So that happens across the board, but I just think maybe for an example, you know, when they look at other ethnic groups and how they train their children on weekends, you know, on Saturdays and Sundays, it's something they take and inculcate these kids with something they don't get in the
inculcate.
Inculcate.
And I heard that one. Inculcate. Someone send me the definition for inculcate. Right.
Some things they don't give them in the regular school system. They get it on weekends, but it gives them that other education that they know they got to look forward to, that nothing stops them because of what somebody does. And that's what I want our young people to be able to understand. And like you said, some people have come out of real humble circumstances and beginnings, but some of them make it. Because they hold on to wanting more for themselves. And that was my blessing at the University of South Florida. See, my job, I said that to other professionals who were very frustrated. There were times I was frustrated because I know that I was way underpaid at the University of South Florida. But I said to people, I said, this is a mission. This is a ministry for me. And I knew when students left places like Belgrade and Pahokee and South Bay, Palaca, those rural areas, this was a final stop to determine whether they catapult or whether they just become nothing. And I knew it was a place where they were going to get what they need to move to greater pastures and greener pastures.
So do you think, you know, I said this in my speech, and you heard me say it before, because in my book, if the village elders don't raise the kids, then the village idiots will.
That's right.
So do you think that there are a lot of black people, let's say 40 plus, that could be doing more but are not for whatever reason? But do you think that there's a large group of black people, affluent black people, who know better and could do more, but they're not for whatever reason?
Yes, that is a possibility. Now, let me say in my circumstances that when I got divorced, I had my son and daughter, and I had mothers to say to me, would I be a mentor to their children, their boys, etc. And I had to say to one mother specifically, I said, if I could keep my two children straight and out of the judicial system, I would have done a fairly decent job. So I have the charity starts at home first. I mean, not that I didn't do what I could for my students at the university. You know, I gave my best to my students at USF. but I had to make sure I take care of my own 2 children so the world wouldn't have to take care of them. They could take care of themselves. But I do say that if young people 40 or younger, let me say it this way: out of every initiative that is done of your younger professionals, there should be some sort of a mentoring component, a coaching component, to reach back and give some of these students a hand that need some direction.
Now, is there anything wrong with black folks specifically looking out for other black folk?
Oh, absolutely not, because charity starts at home. And when I say at home, it's not just in your own physical house, but in your own ethnic race. You know, you need to support young people who look like you. And see, there's a lot of accomplishments that we've been able to witness and experience, milestones people have achieved, but there's nothing like witnessing one of your own.
Well,
when I see students of color go to the next level, I think that adds a few more years to my life when I see students of color do phenomenal things. And I get reports a lot of times from my students who came through USF. And they write me back and say, Dr. Wright, I'm a vice president here, or I'm a vice chancellor, or if I finished a doctorate. I had a student that the other day, you were in the room with him. He said to me, I didn't teach him, but I was in a barber shop. Now these are the subliminal messages we have to give to young people when we see them. And you're giving that message to people too, whether you know it or not. When I stepped in the barber shop, this fellow was doing hair, cutting hair. He was a barber. He had worked at Toys R Us for years. Never, ever finished his educational degrees or nothing of that nature. I don't think he had even finished 2 years of college. But every time I walked in that barber shop, that fella looked and said, it's something I got to do in my life to get to the next level. I was a constant reminder that he had to do more. He picked up, went to the community college. At 30-some plus years, finished his AA degree, AS, I think it was, at HCC. Applied to USF, came to USF for a semester, but he wanted to go to FAM for pharmacy. After the second semester at USF, he got accepted to pharmacy at FAMU, and now he owns a pharmacy in his hometown. He lives in Tampa still. But the blessing is, when I saw him a week or so ago at the University of South Florida, you know what he said to me?
What he said?
He said, Dr. Wright, in 2019, I will be a medical doctor. I'm in a special program for pharmacists out of a program out of the islands, but we have classes out of through Miami. I will be an MD. Now, this is a person that finished a PharmD at FAMU, I think almost at the age of 38.
Yeah.
So the message I want to convey to our listening audience is that there are blessings yet that people are to behold. But because of age and other extenuating circumstances, they feel they can't get there. I believe people ought to take all those glass ceilings off of their own lives and put forth some effort to do what they really want to get done.
That is very true. We definitely are in our own way in a lot of things. We definitely put up roadblocks that otherwise would not be there. So no matter your age, I give all the credit in the world to my wife. You know, she just got her RN degree at 30. She often said she was one of the oldest people in the class, but it was something she felt she wanted more out of life. And she wasn't doing bad, but she just felt like she wanted more.